All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to SKC's WebIH Learning Series. Thank you very much for joining us today. We have another very exciting product to show you. We will be discussing the new personal wearable aerosol monitor manufactured by Environmental Devices Corporation, also known as EDC. For the purposes of respecting your schedule and time, I'll be highlighting the key features. And I have Sandy Lenatsis from EDC on the line with me. And at the end of the presentation, I will pass it over to Chuck Notgreiner, who is our VP of Sales at SKC. He and Sandy will orchestrate our question and answering at that time. So please send in your questions using the chat feature, and we will stop with about 5 to 10 minutes remaining and answer any questions that we can. If we don't get to your question, we will be sure to answer all of the questions and send them out to you with a follow-up email. All right. The outline of today's presentation, we're going to talk about the user-friendly features of the HD7204, the kind of the size, the look and the feel of the instrument, and also some of the intuitive information. Then we're going to jump into the color touch screen, which really adds a whole nother dimension to this instrument, but it also allows a lot of on-screen programming, wireless communication, and an additional level of software. And then we'll talk a little bit more about, in addition to these features, what makes the HD7204 a unique instrument in the market, and talk specifically about the optical sensor, the flow compensation, the software, and the validated sampling inlets. And also some of the setting capabilities. And then lastly, we'll jump into some of the standard kits, because we're going to be talking about a lot of different features, and it'll be valuable information to know what exactly comes in the kit itself. All right, first is going to be the user-friendly features of the HasDust HD7204. I'll be discussing some of the user-friendly features, like I said, such as the color touch screen, and also with what makes the HD7204 unique. This unit is smaller than the previous HasDust model HD1004. The contour design makes it easier to grip, and it's just more comfortable to the hand. Even if you have smaller hands, this design makes it easier to grip. It's also lighter weight and more comfortable to wear on the belt, or if you're using a shoulder strap. Being that SKC is the world's leader in air sampling, we're proud to announce that the HD7204 offers multiple personal preferences, including multiple data formats and an option of 12 or 24-hour time formats. And the HD7204 offers multiple language formats, including English, French, German, Spanish, and Chinese. The HD7204 offers useful information at a glance. For convenience, the time, the date, and the battery status are always on the screen and viewable, no matter what you're working with. So that's always viewable information. And in addition to that, the quote-unquote about screen offers valuable information such as the company name, the serial number, the firmware version, the pump version, the model designation, and also the last calibration date. The LEDs on the screen also provide useful information. The green means that you're currently doing air sampling at a rate programmed into the unit. If the lights are red, this indicates that alarms and/or faults have occurred. And then lastly, the purple indicates low battery. So now to touch specifically on the 3.5-inch color touch screen. The color touch screen is intuitive and very informative as well, as I've already mentioned. There are multiple viewing options, and the unit offers a 1-second or 10-second real-time rolling graph feature. As you can see by the top picture, the graph is color-coded for quick recognition or for quick identification. The blue indicates normal sampling. The yellow indicates the stell alarm has been met, and then red indicates the ceiling alarm has been met. At the bottom of the graph, you will see the easy to identify universal symbols for pause and stop. This makes obvious operation a little bit simpler and a little more intuitive. The picture in the bottom right of the slide shows the on-screen statistics display. This will tell you all the important information about the data set, including your uniquely named data set and aerosol profile, the cumulative average, the OSHA 8-hour TWA, the STEL, the ceiling, the log rate, the min, the max, the start time, the stop time, the flow rate, and the PM size, as well as your elapsed runtime. The instrument also offers on-screen programming. Users have the ability to name their data sets and create a library of unique aerosol profiles. In addition, the ceiling and STEL alarm can be set through the touchscreen. The user can also set the log rate and will have the ability to adjust the flow, perform an auto zero, and you can also verify the calibration. With the HD7204, you can enter and store calibration factors into the instrument. This can be a cost-saving measure due to reducing the number of gravimetric samples needed. It offers two instruments in one, basically, a real-time monitor and a gravimetric sampler. This can be an extremely valuable feature. Just to clarify what I'm saying, you can sample real-time and collect the same sampled air onto a gravimetric cassette or through a gravimetric cassette, have that cassette analyzed by a lab, and then enter a correction factor into the unit for a more accurate real-time analysis for that specific application and setting. This is a great feature for more accurate real-time surveys. So I've addressed some of the user-friendly features, but aside from that, what makes the HD7204 superior and unique in the market? The instrument is the only personal wearable aerosol monitor on the market to offer a flow compensated pump for compliance monitoring, the ability to use any pre-weighed 25mm or 37mm filter cassette, true validated sampling inlets for respirable and inhalable size fraction, a miniaturized, easy to clean optical sensor that mounts in the OSHA-defined breathing zone, and in the field calibration verification, and optional wireless and networking capabilities. Now, I've already touched on some of these, but I'm going to go into more detail and discuss some of the others as well. Going to briefly cover the validated sampling inlets made by SKC. The HasDust products are the only personal monitors on the market to offer true inhalable size fraction of particles. By screwing the IOM directly onto the sensor, the HD7204 offers the ability to monitor the inhalable size fraction. Other instruments on the market don't offer an inlet wide enough to do this. When the user selects the inhalable size fraction on the instrument, the flow will automatically adjust to the 2 liters per minute requirement. We also offer the GS3, we also offer the GS3 Cyclone, which meets the OSHA's new ISO 7708 respirable or respirability curve for crystalline silica, and is placed directly after the sensor, which is actually before the sensor with regards to airflow. When respirable size fraction is selected in the instrument, the flow will automatically change to 2.75 liters per minute to match the requirements of the Cyclone. We also offer a custom flow. If someone wanted to look at PM4 or PM5, for example, they can shift particle size by varying the flow rate in the instrument. All right, now I'm going to discuss the details of the optical sensor. Obviously, this is an extremely vital part of the HD7204. The miniaturized optical sensor mounts in the OSHA-defined breathing zone. This is extremely important because it reduces inner wall deposition of particles that can result in false low readings and false low reporting. The sensor is sandwiched between the filter cassette and the sampling inlets and provides a greater sensing range and sensitivity than our previous models, or for that matter, any other personal monitor on the market. The new HASDUS model now has a flow compensated pump, which is made by SKC. So you ask, or you may ask, why does the flow compensation really matter? Well, this means that the HD7204 can be a compliance monitor. Users no longer need to co-locate in order to achieve both desired measurements. Until now, to be in full technical compliance, users would need a flow compensated pump with a filter for gravimetric sampling, and then they could opt for a real-time instrument as well, but you would have two separate units. Now we have a flow compensated pump that meets the OSHA requirements for compliance, and we have a real-time reading at the same time. And as I already mentioned, you can apply a correction factor based on the laboratory results of your gravimetric sample. The HD7204 offers similar pump fault conditions to the SKC pumps. So this is a great feature as well. This display will alert users when the pump has faulted. An alert will appear on the screen requiring user acknowledgement. There will also be a notification under the quote-unquote events on the upload screen, which will turn red. Now, as an added feature to keep in mind and to remember in your sampling process, the pump will attempt to resume the sample flow after about 20 seconds, and it will do this up to 5 times on its own. So hopefully it will be able to re-achieve that flow rate, and even though you may have had a fault, it will continue collecting the sample over the period of time. If it cannot resume the sample, the pump will eventually stop and end the sample. However, the data to that point will be saved, and you'll be able to view that information. All right, stepping into wireless communication, this is just another great feature of this instrument. I really like the fact that you can view the live feed on a PC or a laptop remotely via Wi-Fi. And we currently offer a radio frequency in addition to the Wi-Fi. We have also made or prepared for the ability for future expansion with cellular and Bluetooth communications. So more to come. The HASDUS HD7204 comes with a powerful graphical software which allows for the live feed option that I already discussed briefly. You can add notes to the graph, it provides easy to read statistics, and it offers different formats for viewing and for exporting. So whether you want to view the information or you just want to collect the information and then export it later, we have tried to give you that capability to meet your needs. All right, what is included with the standard kit? So I've mentioned a lot of different capabilities and options so far, and we felt it appropriate to let you know what comes in the kit. Among several other things that you see listed here on the screen, the kit comes standard with all necessary cables, the software, the battery, and the charger. It also includes a filter cassette for standard operation. Now, you would need to use a different filter cassette for gravimetric sampling if you're sending it in for analysis, but this would conduct the basic operation of the unit. Kit also includes a zeroing accessory, an open phase sampling adapter, a flow adapter, an IOM, and a thoracic inlet, all packaged in a rugged, waterproof carrying case. We recommend that you also purchase, depending on your application, the GS3 Cyclone, which gives you the respirable capabilities, the calibration verification, the cleaning kit, the pre-weighed 37mm filter cassettes for the gravimetric sampling, and a protective pouch. And I'll touch on a little bit of these in more detail. For example, the protective pouch provides several convenient features, but also it serves as another level of protection, especially in rough environments. Among those features is a hard plastic window that prevents accidental pressing of the screen buttons. The unit can be charged while it is in this pouch, and the pouch was designed as to not block some of the other valuable visible features that I talked about already, as well as the necessary functionality of the unit. For example, ventilation, which is important for the instrument, and the antenna access. Most of you are probably quite familiar with cyclones and respirable sampling. So we do recommend that you purchase the GS3 cyclone as well. We didn't include this in the standard kit to add the cost because we have, as we've discussed, there are many applications outside of respirable sampling that we know the HD7204 will be used for. We also recommend that you consider the calibration span reference standard as well. This gives added security, and depending on what you're using the device for, it also gives an added data support as well, that your device is operating at 10% of the factory calibration. This calibration verification can be easily performed in the field. Unlike a lot of the instruments that employ optical sensors, we do allow you the ability to clean the optics in the field. If you choose to do so, you would need to purchase one of these cleaning kits. Having a dirty sensor will affect the performance, obviously, of any real-time optical instrument sensor. So whether you use one of these kits or whether you send the instrument in, you definitely need to maintain the cleanliness of the optical sensor. I know this is important information for a lot of you to make sure it meets your application, so I wanted to go over these specifications pretty thoroughly. The sensing range is 0.001 to 500 milligrams per meter cubed, or 1 to 500,000 micrograms per meter cubed. The battery life is a great improvement. This is 22 hours at 2 liters per minute with an IOM and no filter. That's a pretty big improvement from before to have 22 hours. The data storage of 43,200 data points. The sampling rate, you can sample at 1, 4, 10, or 60-second increments. The flow rate is 1 to 5 liters per minute. And as I mentioned also, you can have that user adjustable if you want to do some customized sampling. The weight is 1.14 pounds, and the screen is 3.5 inches and is a color touch display. And in conclusion, as we have discussed, there are some great advantages to real-time monitoring. What I think the HasDust HD7204 will do for a lot of users, it'll make this process easier and much more intuitive, and it incorporates technology that provides capabilities that were not possible before, especially for communications, for compliance, and just for overall detailed data analysis. So if you're interested and you have a need for this type of a product, please contact us at SKC. At this time, I'm going to throw it over to Chuck Knockgreiner, who is our VP of Sales, and let him kind of head up the question and answering section.
Andy, thank you so much for an informative presentation. Andy's become the voice of SKC through these webinars. Great job, Andy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We do have one question, and the question centers around, I'll read the question for you, Sandy, and hopefully you'll be able to help. How does the instrument distinguish silica dust from total dust?
All right, so the instrument reads in mass concentration. So whether that be in, as Andy was saying, milligrams per cubic meter or micrograms per cubic meter. And the only way to determine the exact silica content would be to send the filter into a lab for analysis. Once the lab results have come back, as Andy was saying in one of those slides, you can take the time-weighted average of the filter gravimetric and the time-weighted average of the real-time reading of the instrument, and you can divide the two, and that will give you your calibration factor. So you can enter that into the instrument, and by doing that, you can actually reduce the amount of gravimetric samples that are required.
Yeah, so to add a little bit, silica dust is normally is a respirable dust fraction, and by virtue of putting that GS3 cyclone on the front end, what you're doing is the only thing that's going up through the sensor is respirable, And as long as it scatters light, you're going to get a reading on that meter. And then you send the sample off, the filter off to the lab, and they tell you how much silica is on it. And then based upon your situation, you should be able to correlate that back. And we have another question. Ready, Sandy?
I'm ready.
How often is factory calibration recommended?
We recommend an annual service and calibration. If for whatever reason that's not possible, if you're in the middle of a project or something like that, you can always use the calibration span reference, and that will let the user determine if the instrument is still within that plus or minus 10% of factory calibration. It is a good idea to send it back annually for us to just check out the calibrate it, clean it, and whatever. But if it's not possible, like I said, you can verify the calibration, and you can also clean the optical sensor. A lot of times it might seem like it's out of calibration, but it could just be from a dirty sensor. So, if you're working in a more dusty environment, you would want to make sure that you clean that sensor more frequently.
Yes. And to give you an idea, what happens prior to using the instrument itself, what you're going to do is put a calibration standard in the sensing head to make sure you're within plus or minus 10%, and then you zero it. So with zero, what no dust is, that the instrument is reading dust, and then you're ready to sample. Very, very, very simple pre-operation before you go out and take a sample. And we have another question, Sandy. Are you ready for this one?
I'm ready. Keep them coming.
What does the kit cost?
It's $5,195.
Okay. And within that kit, you are going to get everything you need to do sampling, other than if you're doing respirable, other than the GS3 cyclone.
Correct.
So
Yep, correct.
It's a pretty comprehensive kit. Oh, and you also need the calibration standard, right?
Yeah, we do recommend that. And then, with the purchasing the cyclone, there's a little tiny adapter, the GSA 204, that would need to be purchased to fit the cyclone into the sensor.
Oh, okay. Good point. Thank you, Sandy. So at this point, unless we have any other questions pop up, I am going to conclude. If you have any additional questions, Andy's left up the screen. Send questions to skcinc.com or call us at 800-752-8472, and we would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So once again, I want to thank everyone for participating. Andy and Sandy, thank you for your expertise as we on this webinar, and we appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.